6:41 now on this Sunday morning, and the wind has now added itself into the equation here. We've moved to the colder side of the storm, so we don't have as much melting going on. And yeah, there's the result. Community banks of Colorado and Monument, you see the trees blowing around, the snow's blowing around. It's coming down rather heavily. And roadways, while passable, are not fun to traverse this morning. And we're going to continue to see some additional snow accumulate on the higher terrain around both Colorado Springs and Pueblo. The center of the circulation is sitting just to the northeast of Fowler right now. It's pretty obvious on the radar loop exactly where that is. And so we get bands of snow that develop, and then they move towards the mountains. And where you see the darker blues on the map, that's where the snow's coming down very heavily, reducing visibility. But there is a kind of a sporadic nature to these bands of heavier snow. And so at times when you look out your window, you'll say, hey, it's snowing real hard, and then it'll kind of clear out a little bit. You might even see a few holes in the clouds at times during the day today. But when you're under these bursts of snow, it's enough to re-whiten those roadways, especially this morning. Temperatures are generally pretty mild. I mean, we're in the upper 20s to lower 30s along the Front Range. You have some mid-30s to near 40 out here on the far eastern plains. It's much colder as you head up across the higher terrain. So once the sun comes up, I think for areas like Pueblo, where we've had, for example, enough snow to overcome the roadways, the road conditions should start to improve even if you have some precipitation. The wind is a complicating factor right now. It's generally out of the north along the Front Range from Pueblo northward through Denver, and it's running between 15 and 25 miles an hour, and in some cases it's been gusting to between about 30 and 40 miles an hour. So we don't have blizzard conditions, but we do have a lot of blowing snow reducing visibility. There's quite a bit of drifting going on over the Palmer Divide and in some cases into Taylor County as well. The wind's been much lighter than that so far over the southern part of the state. We do think it'll pick up here between Levita Pass and Walsenburg as the storm continues to spin its way out across eastern Colorado today. And Futurecast is suggesting wind speeds running between 10 and 20 miles an hour pretty commonly into the afternoon. Maybe starting to back down a little later on today, but this is going to be a pretty blustery day. So regardless of the fact that that complicates travel, it's just not going to feel very good. Look for highs to only reach the 30s and 40s in much of eastern Colorado, a little closer to 50 out here on the far eastern plains. And so obviously we're not too worried about snow out here for you away from the mountains. It's just going to be too warm for that. And even in a place like Pueblo or Canyon City, where the snow has been problematic the last few hours, as it warms up a little bit more this afternoon, we'll probably switch from an all-snow situation like we have this morning and kind of a mixture of some rain and snow. And at that point, I think your roadways will start to clear up a little bit. Then as we go through the rest of the day today, you continue to see this spiral out here across the southeastern corner of the state. Under that pool of cold air, there's quite a bit of instability. We could have some showers, thunderstorms, maybe even a little bit of small hail and some gusty wind with those storms. But on its backside, I think we're going to continue to see some snow, generally focused on the higher terrain to the north and west of Colorado Springs and south and west of Pueblo. Even in these areas, there will be some intermittency to the precipitation, but I do think it'll be occurring more routinely than it might be in Colorado Springs, Pueblo, or Canyon City proper throughout the day today. And then finally, as we move into tonight, it looks like this storm system will start to make its way towards the Kansas state line. And so while snow may continue to fly, particularly on the higher terrain around the Pikes Peak region through about, I'd say, midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning, I think along the Front Range we'll be on the downswing. We may hang on to some precipitation over the far eastern plains well past midnight and perhaps into tomorrow morning, but we will definitely be on the downside of this storm at this point. So additional snowfall, I think, today into tonight around Colorado Springs under these heavier bursts of snow, probably on the order of 1 to 3 inches. I wouldn't rule out even in these places like Ellicott, Hanover, and Fountain where it doesn't look like much. It just takes one of these bands to go overhead. They drop an inch an hour. So 1 to 3 inches is certainly a possibility. But I think up here in Monument Hill, especially near the mountains and then back into northern Teller County, to a lesser extent southern Teller County, but that's where we're probably looking at another 3 to 6 inches of snow today and then maybe another inch or two tonight. And so we could definitely tack on another 4 to 8 inches on the higher terrain around Colorado Springs. I think that's also a possibility on the higher terrain south and west of Pueblo, especially this morning. We've already had about probably 6 to 9 inches of snow around Rye and Beulah, and we could pack up another 3 to 6 inches on top of that before it's done. In Pueblo, again, we could end up with another inch this morning. Don't pay a lot of attention to these model numbers at tenths. I mean, it's snowing pretty hard right now. But once we get through these morning bands, I do think the rest of the day we'll probably struggle to see more than another inch of snow from Pueblo through Pueblo West into Penrose as it gets a little bit too warm. Maybe back towards Canyon City, we could pick up another 1 to 3 inches of snow during the day today. We won't have as much of an impact from snow over the southern I-25 corridor. A quick inch or two maybe if you can get some of those bursts of snow today. develop. I do think nearer to the mountains, places like Cuchara could pick up another maybe 2 to 4 or 3 to 6 inches today. And then later on tonight, we could see some banding underneath that circulation where eastern Los Animas County and maybe even places on the far eastern plains where it's a little too warm today could briefly tonight get a quick 1 to 3 inch burst of snow before this all comes to an end. When you wake up tomorrow morning, teens and 20s over northern areas, 30s over the far southeastern plains. Will be pretty chilly up across the mountains with most areas falling into the teens. Highway 115 in Turkey Creek, like a lot of places, looking pretty snowy this morning. And so that roadway here between Colorado Springs and Canyon City is going to be about as slow as anything out there that's snow covered right now. So we'll track another storm as we head into next week, and that might bring more snow to some areas. But finally, late in the week, I think things will warm up. Stay tuned for our extended forecast coming up soon. Kirjan, back to you.